Good morning, all of you. Today's topic is theory of production. This is the 10th unit of block 3. In this class, we are going to discuss about two production theories. One is law of variable proportion and law of return to scale. In the law of variable proportion, the definition of law of variable proportion, what are the assumptions, how to construct the production schedule, what are all the stages in law of variable proportion, decision making while constructing the production function, and what are all the limitation. Coming to the second theory, law of return to scale, the definition, assumption, production schedule, and stages. So these are the topics today we are going to discuss. The main objective of this particular topic is to analyze and evaluate the production function, and we may be familiarized with the theories of production. Let us get into the class. The theory of production can be explained in two manifolds based on the variability in the input factor. When some inputs are variable and others are fixed in the production process, expressing the input-output relation is known as law of variable proportion. If all the inputs are variable and the production process is known as law of return to scale. Let us start with the law of variable proportion. Production process is a transformation of input into output. We use four factors of production, namely land, labor, capital, and organization to get the output. In the production process, we construct the production function in which the levels of output are expressed in different combination of inputs. The law of variable proportion examines when any one of the variable factor is increased for getting output while keeping the other inputs as constant. So we can define this particular concept, law of variable proportion. Many authors have expressed their views about the law of variable proportion. According to Alfred Marshall, an increase in the amount of variable factor added to the fixed factor causes in the end a less than proportionate increase in the amount of product with a given technical condition. This is the definition by Alfred Marshall. But another economist, Stigler, G.J. Stigler, he defined in a different way, but the same concept is the same. An equal increase in one input is added, the inputs of the other productive services are being held constant beyond a certain point. The resulting increment of product will increase. That is, the marginal product will diminish. From these two definitions, we understand that the law of variable proportion describes the change in the output when one input factor is increased while keeping other inputs fixed. The changes in output include not only the total output but also the marginal and average product, which are declining eventually. Let us see the assumption. There are three assumptions in law of variable proportion. The law of variable proportion can be explained with a certain prerequisite condition. They are termed as assumption of the law. The first assumption is the state of technology remains constant. And second one, only one factor of input is made variable and the rest of the factors are fixed. All the units of variable input is homogeneous. Based on these assumptions, we can construct the production schedule. Consider a production of food grains in a piece of land in which the variable factor of input is labor and fixed factor is machine. We are considering machine and labor. The following table shows the input factor with the total output along with the calculation of average output and marginal output in units. There are 5 columns in the table. The first one about the machine, that is, we are using one tractor, one machine is there. Variable input we are increasing the labor one by one. One machine with one labor, one machine with two labors, one machine with three labor, likewise one machine with 10 labors. So equally we are increasing one particular input, and we are seeing the output. The output, the third column shows the output. One machine with one labor is producing 10 bags of wheat or whichever the product. Likewise, the third column is given the total output. Based on these total output, the average is calculated. Third column divided by second column is the fourth column. 10 divided by 1 is 10. 22 divided by 2 is 11. 36 divided by 3 is 12. So that is average product. Average is nothing but total output divided by number of input. Then the marginal. Marginal is in the total column, 22 minus 10 is 10 units. That is a marginal. Because of the first laborer, additionally 10 units has been produced. When the second laborer is employed, he can able to produce additional of 12 units. So the marginal production is 12. 22 minus 10 is 12. Then the third laborer can able to increase 14 units. So 36 minus 22 is 40. Likewise, from the next row, we have to subtract the previous row. That will be the marginal. The column 1 represents the fixed factor, and column 2 represents the increase in labor input one by one. Column 3 represents total output in units, while column 4 is the average product calculated dividing by third column and with the second column. And the last column is a marginal product calculated by taking the difference of total product with its previous value. These three curves diagrammatically represented in the following diagram. You can see in the x-axis, we are calculating the variable input, that is labor. One after another, we are employing. And in the vertical axis, we are calculating the total output. When one machine and one labor is there, it is a starting point, 10 bags, that is 10 units. When it is increased to one machine with the two laborers, it is increased to 22. So that blue line represents the total production, and the red line represents the average production, and green line represents the marginal production. So based on these three curves, we are dividing the law of variable proportion into 3 stages. The stage 1, in the stage 1, the total product increases in the increasing rate till the point F. You can see the diagram. F up to F, that is up to fourth laborer, the total product increasing in an increasing rate. After this point, the total product TP is increasing, but not in increasing rate, but in a decreasing rate. So this change of increasing rate to decreasing rate, that point we used to call it as point of inflection. At this point, the marginal product is maximum, and after that point, it starts diminishing but positive. The point F in the total product curve is called point of inflection, as the total product changes its input from increasing rate of increase to decreasing rate of increase. As total product and average product are increasing trend, the marginal product also increasing. Therefore, this particular stage we used to call it as increasing return stage. The name of the first stage is called increasing return stage. Coming to the second stage, in the second stage, the total product is increasing at a slower rate, and it is increasing the variable factor, and it reaches the maximum level when the marginal product reaches the value 0. Both average product and marginal product are declining but positive. As the marginal product is diminishing and reaches 0, this stage is called diminishing return stage. The name of the second stage is called diminishing return stage. In the last stage, the total product starts declining, which result in downward slope of TP curve. The average product also decline, but it is coming closer and closer to the input axis, but it never touches the axis because some meager value will be there. But the marginal product curves intersect at the x-axis and moves further and become negative. Therefore, this stage is called negative return stage. So the law of variable proportion has 3 stages. One is increasing return stage, second one is diminishing return stage, and third one is negative return stage based on the marginal production. How to take a decision by using this particular theory? Consider the stage of law of variable proportion. A rational producer will not stop employing the labor up to the stage 2, and in the stage 3, the producer has to decide not to deploy additional laborers. If it is so, he will incur loss. A successful manager will expand the business during the first 2 stages. Once the marginal product reaches 0, further expansion leads to negative returns. The law of variable proportion gains its importance as it can operate under the scarcity of various factors of production and the clarity of input-output ratio of the production in terms of laborers. Professor John Robinson is highly pointed out that the law of variable proportion indicates the limit to extent of the input factor to reach the maximum level of output. Stage 1 can be considered as expansion of production, and stage 2 is a range of rational production and no further expansion in the final stage. This particular law facing a particular shortcoming, we may call it as a limitation. This law suffers with certain drawbacks. The technical factor is not influencing factor for the production process, but the law treats as constant, and the variable input factor labor cannot be homogeneous, and the law of variable proportion is short-term nature. So these 3 are limitation of law of variable proportion. Coming to the next theory called law of return to scale. The objective of any theory is long-run survival of the business. The concept law of variable proportion in a short-term phenomenon as more inputs are constant. In long run, all the input factors are variable. Therefore, the law of variable proportion must be replaced with the law of return to scale, in which all the input factors are variable and the production planning will be framed with all input variable transformed into output. Let us define the law of return to scale. There are many definitions. The following 2 definitions is in practice. One by Koshianis, second by Levetsky. The Koshianis defined that terms return to scale refers to changes in output as all factors changes in the same proportion. The other definition is return to scale related to behavior of the total output as all inputs are varied and is a long run concept. So this particular theory following certain assumptions. The following 4 are the assumption of law of return to scale. All input factors are employed in the same proportion. The second assumption is output measured with a different scale of input factors, land and labor. The input factor labor is homogeneous in nature and input factor land is of same fertility. Now, let us get into the production schedule. So here also there are 5 columns. The second column tell about the scale of input. Consider the behavior of output with the cultivation of corn. As number of laborers and acres of land are deployed in the same proportion, the following table shows the return to scale in terms of total product and marginal product. 1 labor with 2 acres of land, so the total output will be 4 units. 2 labor with 2 acres of land, 10 units will be. 3 laborers with 6 acres, it is 18 units. Likewise, it is increased in a same proportion. So this law of return to scale is also divided into 3 stages. One is increasing return to scale stage, and constant return to scale, and finally decreasing return to scale. There are 3 stages in the law of increasing, constant and decreasing. If the increase in all factors provides more than a proportionate increase in output, it is called increasing return stage. If the increase of all factors of production of equal proportion increase in output, it is known as constant return to scale. On the other hand, if the increase in all factors provides a less than proportionate increase in output, then the return to scale is said to be a decreasing return to scale. Table 1 shows when 1 laborer and 2 acres of land employed, the total product is 4 units of corn. Suppose if we doubled the input 2 laborers with 4 acres, it is a increase more than double, and which is result in increasing in marginal product from 4 units to 6 units. Similarly, when input are tripled, 3 laborers with 6 acres of land, the output increase more than triple, and the marginal product increased to 8 units of corn, and it has been increased further to 10 units of corn when 4 laborers and 8 acres of land is used. Up to the stage, we have increasing return to scale. When the 5th and 6th laborer are employed, when additional 2 acres of land of each, the output is increased in an equal proportion. So it is called constant return to scale. This result in constancy in the marginal product, 10 units of corn. This stage is called constant return to scale. It is to be noted that when the 7th laborer are employed with the 2 acres of land, the total product increase with a less proportion. The marginal product reduced to 8 units from 10 units. Finally, it results in 6 units when the 8th laborer is employed with the 2 acres of land. This stage is called decreasing return to scale. The following diagram shows the same. In the x-axis, we are calculating the scale of production. In the y-axis, the marginal product of the unit. Up to 4th laborer, it is a increasing return to scale. From 4th to 6th laborer, it is constant return to scale. And after that, it is decreasing return to scale. So in this particular unit, we have studied 2 different theories. One is law of variable proportion. Another one is law of return to scale. Based on that, the production theory have been framed. The keywords for this particular topic is production process, production function, factors of production, and other different types of production. You can expect a section C question, explain law of variable proportion, or what are different types of production. This particular theory is more important. With this, let us wind up the class. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Thanks for watching the video.